Hello, fellow peasants. So I just got done watching Friday the 13th, the original from 1980. I've seen the movie before. I think this is probably the second or third time I've watched the film. So what do I think of it? So I'm going to give you a rough idea of what I think about the movie. So I like it better each time I watch it. First time I saw it, I didn't care too much for it. I thought it was slow. I thought that it was just a little boring, you know what I mean? I didn't think a whole lot was going on. And I don't completely disagree with my old self on that. There are some parts where this film drags. But overall, I enjoy the film. It's a nice original story. Eventually the franchise turned into something far more campy and far more cheap and Hollywoodized. But Friday the 13th, if there had never been a sequel, would be just as good, or if not better, than it is as a standalone film. The film is very strong all by itself, in my opinion, with, just the whole idea. This hadn't really been done before. There really hadn't been a well done, I wouldn't say this is high budget, but this is a medium budget for a horror film back in the 80s, where you go to camp, there's a killer, there's a backstory, and so I really enjoy the story of it. I love that Jason drowned. His mom was like, a cook at the time. Mrs. Voorhees was a cook at the camp while Jason was there. The counselors were screwing. They weren't paying attention, and Jason drowned. And so she's been going to the camp and getting revenge for, the decades since this happened, since he drowned. But you don't know the whole movie. Mrs. Voorhees is the killer. You assume, you think someone else is. You probably are thinking Jason's the killer because they keep talking about how the place is haunted, or there's murders and things happen. Things get lit on fire. It's cursed. So you're constantly thinking it's like something supernatural. Did he come back from the dead? Stuff like that. And so you pretty much have a belief that Jason's probably the killer in this film, until the very end, when you figure out it's actually just Jason's mom who went buck fucking wild. She went insane, and she decided to get revenge by killing the camp counselors for the next 3 decades since he died. I like the way the film is shot. The acting isn't too bad in this. But going back to the way that it's shot, cinematography is great in this movie. I actually really appreciate the camera work in this film. And I've watched the rest of the franchise as well. And the camera work has never been bad in the Friday the 13th films. I've always enjoyed the camera work. But here I like it a lot. I can't speak for the rest of the franchise for this particular thing. When I get into the rest of the films, I'll have to pay more attention to this, because I haven't watched all of these for like 2 or 3 years now. But the black levels, nighttime looks like nighttime in this film, and you don't feel like you can't see nothing. I mean, there are certain parts where you're like, I can't see what's going on, but you can make out just enough to figure out what's happening. You don't feel like, okay, like they need some extra lighting here. I really enjoy the lighting. It looks like what nighttime would look like at a camp, with just the moonlight and the lanterns and the lights on the outside of the cabins. Even the lighting inside the cabins feels very natural. It doesn't feel like they're using extra lights. It feels like they're using a lot of natural light to film this first film. And I'm going to pay more attention to that as the franchise goes on. In terms of the kills in this, I really like the kills in this. Tom Savini, I don't know how many of the Friday the 13th he did the makeup for. You guys can let me know in the comments, or I can just look it up myself. But Tom Savini did the makeup on this, all the gore effects and things like that. And are they a little dated now? Yeah, a little bit, but they still hold up pretty well. And at the time, I could only imagine how realistic it looked in 1980 when, like, you know, the spear goes through Kevin Bacon's throat, or the one girl gets her throat cut by the tree at the beginning, the axe in the head, just other things like that that look really realistic, even by today's standards. You know, all the practical effects that Tom Savini used, and I just like the vibe, and all these films pretty much have this for the most part up until later in the franchise. But I just love the all-American summertime camp environment that the films have. It's just it's just a really fun setting to have the films. I don't know if that's something that still happens today. I don't know if people go to summer camp and stuff. I feel like that's something that was really popular probably in the 1980s and earlier. I don't remember a whole lot of people when I was growing up in the 90s and 2000s going to summer camp, but I don't know. And lastly, Mrs. Voorhees as the killer. Super creepy, super creepy. When she's like, "Kill him, mommy," or no, she's like whispering to herself, like she's talking like Jason, and then she's answering herself too. Like at one point, Mrs. Voorhees says, "Kill her, mommy," and then she goes, "I will, Jason, I will," and then and then she starts chasing this chick. Super creepy, you know. And like I said earlier, you know, with that type of twist where it's Jason's mom, and the last scene in this film, you know, the girl wakes up in the hospital. Jason didn't really get her. It was just a dream. It could have ended like that. It could have ended like that, and there never been a sequel, and it all would have made sense. It would have ended great. They went off to do what they did, and they are fun films, and you get the hockey mask and all that starting in the third film. And all that's great, but this could have been a standalone film, and I think it would have been more of a cult classic than what it became. Now, am I going to sit here and say that it would have become the franchise that it is, or it would have been as popular, the name would have been as popular as it is if it hadn't gone on to be a franchise? No. But I think the cult status and the respect for the first film, due to the third act alone, would have given it some cult status and let it stand on its own. But anyway, other than that, guys, that's about it. I've got 7 more of these to go through. I'm really excited. This is the first one, so starting next week, we will be doing Friday the 13th Part 2. I really like Part 2. I like it more than this film, I think, but we'll see. It's been, like I said, it's been 2 or 3 years since I've watched all these, so we'll see how I feel. But as of right now, I once again enjoyed the first film. I really think that it's a very good horror film, and it's not quite as appreciated by the Friday the 13th fans as it should be. I think it's a great entry. And other than that, peasants, have a good day. Peace out. Bye-bye.